The greatest challenge facing mankind now is how to feed an increasing world population that is expected to hit 9 billion by 2050. From climate change responses to soil sustainability and improved seeds, many interventions are being developed and adopted to ensure more food is grown to achieve food and nutritional security, especially in Africa, where many suffer poverty and malnutrition. On GN Exclusive today, we travel to KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa to learn what some smallholder farmers think about modern farm technologies and how they intend to use them to better their lives. Cereals and grains are important crops in South Africa. Maize undoubtedly is the most important crop because, apart from it being a dietary staple, it is also used as feed for livestock. The maize meal, pap, is quite popular and eaten by many. Maize is grown by large commercial farmers as well as small growers. KwaZulu-Natal is a province noted for maize production. According to Grain SA, KwaZulu-Natal province produced some 550,000 tons of white and yellow maize during the 2013-2014 planting season. For smallholder farmers in KwaZulu-Natal, growing maize presents a huge challenge: labor and weed control. If they get these challenges sorted out, they will definitely become happy farmers. So to assist farmers decide on which technology that can best address their concerns, the University of Missouri, together with small growers in KwaZulu-Natal, have tested the potentials of some maize varieties. It is usually a challenge getting smallholder rural farmers to adopt new technologies unless their benefits have been demonstrated to them. And so, the 2-year Community of Practice project, which includes workshops, field demonstrations, and tasting of the corn, is to transfer knowledge and skills to farmers. It is also to help farmers make informed decisions as to which technologies can help develop small-scale agriculture. About 60 farmers from 3 communities, Hlanganani, Escort, and Danhausa, in the KwaZulu-Natal province experienced firsthand the strengths and weaknesses of 5 maize varieties planted on several plots. These varieties, including local, hybrid, and GM, were planted side by side. Every trial plot had 8 lines of each variety planted, each line 12 meters long.
The varieties were CRN 3505, that is a hybrid. The second one was we're using their own varieties. So own varieties is what they sort of called the traditional varieties, the one that they keep at home and then plant it the following year. It's planted every year. Finally, and then lastly, we planted the TNC varieties. All these varieties we obtained from Monsanto. The GM varieties, the first one was herbicide tolerant variety. The second one was a BT, the one that is tolerant, the one that can tolerate the stalk borer. Finally, the third one was the double stack. Yeah, it has both strains that can tolerate stalk borer and the herbicides. The 2 varieties of GM that is a double stack variety and the herbicide tolerant were planted on the no-till land. We planted each variety on 8 lines, each variety, the length being 12 meters.
Okay.
Yeah, so on each trial site, we planted 8 times 5, 40 lines on each trial plot. The local varieties was growing quicker than the other because of even the tasseling was on the traditional variety. Yeah, it is one that was growing much quicker. But again, when it comes to strong winds, when there were strong winds, the very own variety was collapsing. I don't remember the name they normally use for the falling off the stalks when there's strong wind. But the other varieties had very much stronger stalks. That was the observation that I got.
Of the varieties planted, Roy explains the GM varieties performed better.
We got 100 kgs of shelled maize on the GM plots. On average, all the GM plots gave us 100 each on average.
Oh, okay.
So it means 8 lines, 12 meters long of each variety gave us 100 kgs on average of shelled maize. The hybrid gave us a bit less. On average, I was getting about 80 kgs on the hybrid. The traditional varieties was much less because on average it was 25 to 50 kgs of maize.
So basically we can conclude that the GM varieties did better.
Did better, yes, did better. And then you could see even on the stalks, the traditional variety had one crop or 1 ear per plant. Some did have nothing. So this was very, very poor harvest on their own variety. The CNR or the hybrid, I think the harvest was also affected by the stalk borer because the control of stalk borer was not effective on some of the areas. So the hybrid and the GM is one of the same variety. The difference that the other one has got a GM put in it. It does not mean that the harvest cannot be the same. It's supposed to be the same, but it became less on the hybrid because of diseases and stress and other things that caused the harvest to be a little bit less compared to GM. GM had a better harvest because it was clean, without any diseases, without any weeds, and then that's why the harvest happened to be better than the hybrid.
It also emerged the farmers were primarily concerned about weed control and using less labor. Lindeni Sitebe, a farmer from Escort, grows vegetables, beans, potatoes, and maize. She tells me her takeaway from this 2-year training are soil management and fertilizer application.
Yeah, she learned about no-till systems or no-till technique of maize production. Some other places they call it minimum tillage system. That's what she learned.
Okay. So now, after the training, is she able to differentiate between seeds? Can she tell what a hybrid seed is or what a GM seed is? Can she be able to determine what kind of manure is good for her soil and all that?
Yeah, usungasho manje uthi yiphi imbewu siyakwazi ukuhlanganisa inhlonhlo zembewu manje.
Yeah, sengiyakwazi.
Yeah. Usungakwazi ukuthi lo mhlabathi ungcono ngokuthi utshale kanje njalo siyakwazi konke lokho.
Yeah, sengiyakwazi.
Yeah. Yes, of course. She can different maize varieties now. She can even not tell that this is the best place to plant what.
Okay.
Yeah, she has also learned that.
Okay. So all these that she has learned, is she willing to, after the project, still continue implementing it to improve her livelihood?
Uzimisela ukuthi njengoba kade senza le nto lesibonele nje uqhubeka uzenzela wena lezi zinto ukuze impilo yakho nomndeni wakho ibe ngcono.
Ngizimisele ngendlela emangalisayo kakhulu. Ngoba kuningi engikufundile, kuningi futhi engingakwenza ngingedwa.
Yeah, she's more than willing because she has learned a lot. She has also learned some of the things that she can do by herself without looking for any further assistance from other places.
Ya ngifunde nje ukuthi le joviwe yinhle ngoba inomkhiqizo omningi and nasemlonyeni ine taste. Inomkhiqizo omningi ayizona indleko.
Yeah.
No matter ibiza mawuthenga but ekugcineni kosuku uyagain awuluzi.
Yeah, she says she prefers the GMO seed simply because it has a much better yield and it's very tasty. It is expensive but a bit cost effective because because at the end of the day you get a better yield. Yes.
Bengisalungisa indawo ngokuthi ke ummbila senginawo omningi yabo ngifuna ukwenza indaba ukuthi ngikhulise izinkukhu from the road.
Okay. Yeah, she's saying one another project that she is planning to embark on is that of poultry. You know, growing chickens and selling them because she has plenty of maize meal.
Cosmos is also a farmer from Hlanganani, one of the trial locations. He grows maize on 1.5 hectares of land. He also grows beans, though in smaller quantities.
Ungakwazi ukuthi ulento ngendlela esifunde ngayo ungakwazi ukuthi utshale bese ukwazi ukuthi udayise.
According to how they've learned on this project, they can plant their maize and at the same time market the produce.
He also mentioned that one of the disadvantages is having to buy improved seed each year. How do they plan to overcome this challenge?
Leyanto thina indlela esifunde ngayo nangendlela esiyibona ngayo ayiyona inkinga mawuqaphela.
Yeah.
Ngoba phela kufanele njengoba uyifundile ukuthi kufanele utshale ngaleya ndlela nje ibalela ukuthi iyadura. Njengoba idura kufanele uqaphele noma utshalile wazi ukuthi kufanele udayise ukwazi ukuthola iprofit. Umzekelo njengale kade sifunda nje sase sithola ngase ngizithengela u10 kg lo 10 kg wenze njani ukhiphe ukwazile ukhipha u3 ton angithi mawusudayisile akusafani noma kade uthenga u10 kg so uthola imali ongakwazi ukuthi uphinde uthenge enye imbewu uthenge nomanyolo uphinde uyithola iprofit.
Yeah, he says it all involves planning. Yeah, just for instance he planted 10 kgs of GMO maize. He managed to get 3 tons of harvest out of 10 kgs of seed. So he can save at the same time, have enough money to buy another seed from the profit he got from the previous season's harvest. So it's up to a farmer to plan properly to save enough money from the last year's profit to buy certified seed.
After he has gathered all this knowledge, is he also willing to share this kind of knowledge with other farmers in his community?
Yebo siyakwazi ukushelelana ngolwazi.
How? Yeah, they are able to share the knowledge among themselves. I'm asking them now, how are they going to share the knowledge? So share kanjani nabanye abantu?
Angithi masihleli phansi umuntu uyathanda ukwazi ukuthi wenze kanjani uzuthole isivuno esingaka. So uyakwazi ukumchazela ukwazi nokumeluleka kakhulu njengoba lembewu lekuyimbewu enobungozi ukuthi uyitshale noma kanjani. Kufanele ukuthi umuntu umfundise umkhombise indlela okusetshenzwa ngayo ukwenza ukuthi angenzi noma kanjani.
Yeah, if a person can see how successful you are, he can see how much seed, how much harvest you have managed to have. They come and ask you, how did you do this? Then he's more than willing to share that information with whoever comes to him and ask how he has managed to make so much harvest from his field. So this one-to-one sharing that's mainly happening in his area.
Though farmers have picked up some useful farming techniques, they find the seasonal purchase of improved seeds an expensive endeavor. Government sometimes supplies seeds and fertilizers to farmers. Farmers in high rainfall areas such as Escort benefit from the Provincial Department of Agriculture's liming program, where lime is supplied to farmers to neutralize soil acidity on maize fields. However, due to their small farms, they are unable to earn much to purchase improved seeds, resulting in yields that are only sufficient for subsistence. Conditions in Danhauser are harsher as the area is very dry. Farmers here hope for at least 3 rainfalls during the planting season to get better yields. They believe that climate is the most important factor in producing a good maize crop. In Hlanganani, the government is encouraging farmers to work together on community gardens, which are usually less than 10 hectares. The farmers, however, prefer to work their own piece of plot within the community garden. Numbering between 5 and 15 on each community garden, the farmers grow vegetables, maize, dry beans, and potatoes. All the farmers agree a vibrant extension system as well as a ready market for their produce will help a great deal, especially as they are working towards increasing their yields. Though farmers in Escort seem to have an organized marketing system, some organizations that buy maize do not want GM maize. The small growers would have to expect results from government soon, as the new provincial member of the Executive Council in charge of agriculture and rural development has promised some interventions to address the farmers' concerns. According to the Agriculture Minister, one major focus of his department is to develop policies that would support agriculture business in the province.
It means improving on the policies that we have and really align them to the new mandate, new vision and the mandate of the department. We have extension advisory service in the department, and it's working very well. So far, we have even improved their qualifications so that they become more relevant even to the new technologies that are now being applied in the agricultural sector. So we will improve on that, and we're also looking at employing more extension officers because the department has taken the attitude that now we should invest more in the commodities that give us better results. And that approach, we'll be rolling that approach very soon, where we say these are the commodities in District A or District B or District 3 that we would move in, intensify and massify. It even makes things easier for the department, where we have to develop agro-processing facilities because those facilities will be linked to the particular commodities that would have been identified, as opposed to wanting to have all these agro-processing facilities dotted throughout the province. It's not going to be possible. But if you link it to a commodity or commodities, all the better. Even your extension officers will then be aligned to the targeted commodities, so that we can improve their efficiency and effectiveness at the same time.
This project really targets just a small group of farmers in this province. Is the department taking up other projects so that at least you can target a lot of these farmers, because it seems they've benefited a lot from such a project?
You see, our program is going to target both the smallholder farmer as well as the big farmers, because when we say we'll intervene in terms of supporting them with agro-processing facilities, we want to make it even possible for the outgrowers, who will be doing it on a small scale, to put their produce in a bag, put it on their back, and come and deliver it at the agro-processing center. And on that scope, we think that through this approach, we see more and more people benefiting. The idea is to broaden participation in agriculture and including the value chain, as it were.
We all know how important good nutrition is to grow up big and strong. Not only is cowbell milk enriched with 28 vitamins and minerals, it's also boosted by the 5 most important vitamins, which we call Vita-Rich.
It's got vitamin A for good eyesight development. It's got vitamin C to help fight infections. It's got vitamin D and calcium to help build strong bones and teeth. It's got vitamin E to help with body protection. And it's got vitamin K for general well-being and immunity.
For good health and vitality, only cowbell with Vita-Rich puts you on the fast track.
In all their challenges and successes, the KwaZulu-Natal Agriculture Union, KwaNalu, has been with farmers every step of the way. With a membership of 3,500, KwaNalu is a fully integrated, non-racial, gender-sensitive organization for commercial and small-scale farmers. A crucial voice, KwaNalu plays an important role in seeking the interest of members regarding key agricultural policies and issues. For this Community of Practice project, KwaNalu acted as managers. The Templeton Foundation-funded research seeks to answer the question whether GM crops can help feed the world. After all the evaluation and what we've heard from farmers so far, do you think the project has been able to answer the question whether GM crops can help feed the world?
Well, to some extent, I think what we found from farmers' experience over these 2 years trying different varieties compared with GM, what they certainly agreed, most of them had a very good experience with the GM because of labor saving, especially the herbicide tolerant varieties. Labor is a very difficult and expensive factor of production here, and many of the older women end up doing a lot of the work in the field. So that was the most, telling thing about the GM. The second one had to do with the fact that one of them mentioned, or a couple of them mentioned, that because of the BT resistance to cornstalk borer, they were able to plant early without being worried about being infested because it was resistant to infestation. If you plant early with other variety, you might be the first one to be attacked, So those were the two things that they liked about it, and it was fairly consistent. And of course, the constraint they always see is the cost. And in this case, they're weighing this increased cost and increased management time with the benefits that they see. And I know for sure that some of them are already collecting money to buy some seed for next year. So we'll have to wait and see if they continue to use these practices when they need to purchase the inputs themselves. I think one of the things that looks promising on that score is that the patent for the traits that are in the BT and the HT varieties is going to expire next year, in which case those traits will be available for public use. And if there are companies or public sector laboratories that can develop the seeds with those traits, then the cost will be much lower, because a lot of the cost now is paying to the company that owned those patents, the fee for the use of the trait. So this might be, one more year from now, the cost situation might start to decline.
Okay, but who owns those traits?
Well, the traits are owned by Monsanto.
The researchers, however, stress the primary purpose of the project is not to advocate a particular technology over the other.
This project is actually to figure out a way that small farmers can enter into the discussions about GM crops and what are the appropriate technologies that should be developed to support small farm agriculture. So that's a little different focus than advocating a technology or to promoting a technology, because actually to date in Africa, no one or very few small farmers have ever used GM technology, so there is no evidence to show to date, just theoretical evidence, that this might be the best solution for small farm problems. It is a possible solution in comparison to others. So, for example, hybrid varieties might be better than GM varieties just because of the money constraints that farmers have, for example. And so that the purpose is try to have the needs and the constraints of small farmers enter into the discussions of what kinds of technologies governments and universities should be promoting. We learned a lot of things that didn't come out in meetings, is that by doing experiments on farms, for example, we discovered, that people we're very attracted to the use of herbicides because of acute labor shortages here, which might not be the case in other countries in Africa. Labor shortages may be because of HIV, may be much more serious here than in other parts of Africa. We had not thought of the advantage of GM crops as being a labor-saving device. Yield was not what attracted them to GM crops. It was the ability to use herbicides and save labor. We also found that they were willing to pay to buy inputs, which in South Africa there's a lot of concern because small farmers receive welfare payments. They're not huge, about $30 a month per child that you're taking care of, or if you're an elderly person, about $100 a month. But that they were not interested in investing. They just wanted handouts from the government, because the government also provides free tractors for some people and free fertilizer and seed for some people. Our goal is to change the way people think about this problem and the way they talk about this problem. And so I know in terms of the small farmers, they are thinking differently. They're seeing possibilities where if they can get access to resources, they would prefer the government gave those resources to them freely without cost, but they are willing within their resources to also purchase them. So they're seeing other opportunities of ways they can improve their production. What we're hoping is that if the people that make decisions for small farmers, such as Monsanto and Pinar and the seed companies, or such as the Ministry of Agriculture or the universities, because the universities make decisions for small farmers when they decide what kinds of traits and technologies to develop, whether this has changed the way they look at the problem or not. And so one indicator might be that weeds have more of a problem. Whenever we talk to farmers, no farmer said that they needed more yield when he asked what their problem was. No farmer, in fact, if they, in many cases without new markets, if they increased yield, they'd have no place to sell their crop. But what they were worried about is weeds, because if you can't control weeds, you can't use fertilizer. It's a waste of time to use pesticides. It's a waste of time to buy good seed. And so that one of the things that I think we want to bring to the fore is that if you want to use biological science or GM production to benefit small farmers, the emphasis needs to be on weed control, not on other traits.
Interacting with some of the farmers, it seems they've learned a lot. Now they say they are able to differentiate between seeds and also know how to plow, tillage and all that. We also have similar problems with rural smallholder farmers in my country, Ghana. So I want to find out if this project has become a success here. Do you plan on scaling it up, maybe focusing on other countries?
We have used a similar approach to this in Kenya. And I do work not in Africa, but in Bolivia. I just came from Bolivia, in fact. And we do, and actually Bolivia, Peru, and Ecuador, they do a lot of this. This is actually where these techniques were originally developed in the Andean region of Latin America. And so it's been tried other places. We actually do have a proposal that we'll find out about scaling this out to, in this case, USAID, and that we will, if successful, we will scale it out to other countries in Africa, although initially we won't be going to Ghana. It's on the list, but only in a later phase of the project. The initial countries are Tanzania and Mali. Okay. But Ghana is on our list. Our university, as you know, or may not know, is our university has a strong connection with Ghana. We actually have an office in Ghana. And so we would like to work in Ghana. We have to convince our partners.
Though largely successful, the Community of Practice project had its own challenges, as some farmers failed to give their trial plots the needed attention.
The other problem that we observed after planting is that the level of weed control among farmers differ, because we showed them how to mix the herbicides. And they did themselves the spraying and so on, but the follow-up of food control differed from area to area. So that was caused by the maintenance ability of each person. How was he or she doing the follow-up on his or her land? Oh, okay. That was a problem. Some of the areas, the weed control was done very, 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 very good. It was very clean. Some of the areas where it was not properly done, I think it was because of the way they mixed. And then again, some other areas, the time of spraying the grass or the weed, maybe during the rainy weather, or maybe they did not do a follow-up spraying after the rain has come. That was the problem. So the other problem, there were other very stubborn weeds like the nut grass. They were there. So we were forced to look for alternative herbicides other than the Roundup that we used to make sure that we kill those stubborn grasses.
So do you think all these challenges actually affected your harvest?
Yeah, it did. Sometimes it affected the harvest and the growth of the plant. Yeah, at Danhauser, the other thing that also affected the harvest was the plot that we planted at the second plot at Jesse Farm was planted where there was a gum tree. So the gum tree was sucking a lot of nutrients and moisture from the ground. So those are other things that we observed that disturb the trial plot. Okay. The problem that I think we need to plan when we do replant these trials is the proper selection of the plot where we need to do the trial plot. It must be properly selected. It must be having no problem of trees. The soils must be okay. And then again, we must have a proper selection of the people that we will be running those trials, because you need to have a lot of learning from the plot, from the ground. So the person must have a very willing person to look after the plot, because some of the problems are caused by the absence of the ongoing support and maintenance of the plot.
In the end, not only farmers benefited from the project, scientists and other stakeholders involved made some remarkable observations which they hope will shape future decisions as well as research. From KwaZulu-Natal Province, South Africa, Adelaide Arthur for Joy News.